All right, so today we are going to do just a quick little tutorial on Canva so you have a better understanding of the tools that you have and the abilities that you have within Canva with a pro account as a student organization. I want to bring your attention to the club forms page. As you know, there's a ton of different forms on here, but if you scroll all the way down to the resources section, you're going to find something called the resource room and event promotion tips and tricks. If you click on that, you're going to see there's a whole list of information, including what you need to include on your flyers, tips about our new digital signage, information on poster printing, reserving sandwich boards, putting posters in Info Alley, the SAS statement, and how to create accessible social media. There's also a link to the resource room request form. But today in Canva, we're going to be focusing on those things that you need to include when you make a flyer. So first things first, you're going to click print, and you're going to go to a flyer, which is an 8.5 by 11. And this is kind of our basic flyer, quickest print that you can do here in the resource room. Today I'm going to make just a sample bingo flyer. What's really great is obviously with all the built-in templates, you can kind of type in whatever type of event you have coming up and look at the different templates. I like to kind of scroll around a little bit and see the different options that they have. I always recommend maybe not choosing the first option that you find because we don't want all of our flyers to be the same, and that can sometimes be the easiest. But for the sake of today and this video, I'm going to go back up to the top and pick the first flyer just because that's the easiest. So I'm going to click on this bingo flyer. I'm going to go ahead and hide my toolbar for the moment, maybe zoom in a little bit and take a look at what we have. So most of this I'm going to be able to use. I'm going to start kind of playing around a little bit with the format for the date and the information that I want to share. You're going to see I eventually kind of delete this because I know I just want to focus all of that information in the yellow box on the bottom. So I'm going to type in the day of the week. I'm going to type in the date that the event is, so September 7th, which is a Monday. And then I'm just going to make my box a little bigger so it's easier for me to see my information. I'm going to go ahead and add the time and the location. These are all things that you need to remember to put on your flyer so students know when and where to show up for your event. I'm going to go ahead and increase the size of the background so you can read it. And then I'm going to go to that position tool and center it. So I find that helpful just to line everything up to make sure it's right in the middle of my page. You're going to see here, I then go to the general information and I'm going to go ahead and type in some of the prizes that we're offering. Students know what bingo is. You don't need to write an entire description for what's happening, but I might just want to highlight a few of the good prizes that I have. I'm going to go back over to my tips information to make sure I have the name, the date, the time, the location. I'm going to play around with the sizes a little bit because I have some space there. But remember, you don't need to make stuff huge. 25 is a pretty big font size. I'm going to make sure that I put the sponsor. You want students to know the student group that is sponsoring. You're going to see here, I noticed that the template had backwards numbers, so I'm just going to fix that real quick. I'm then going to look for my logo. I'm going to select the brand, the logos, and there is our OSILD logo. So I did write sponsored by OSILD. If you have sponsored by, you don't necessarily need the logo. You're going to see that I decide after I size it that I actually don't want it because I'm going to have to put the Worcester State logo on there. But it's just a great way to get your branding out there. You're also required to include the Worcester State University logo on all of your flyers. So I, again, have them already uploaded. I pick one, I size it. It doesn't need to be giant. It just needs to be on there. So you can kind of place that wherever you feel. You can see I make it a little bit bigger so you can see it, but we have white options, we have colored options, so whatever fits best for your flyer. You can see in the tips and trick sheet that there is a link to the page that has all of the Worcester State logos on it. This is run by marketing. So if you scroll down, you're going to find the Worcester State logo link, and then you can choose to obviously use the print ones, but you can do a horizontal logo or a vertical logo, both in color or in white and black. Next up, all flyers must include our open to WSU community statement and our student accessibility statement that we can make accommodations for events. So you're going to see I copy that over. I tidy it up a little bit, get rid of the quotation marks, get rid of the accessibility statement title. This statement has to be on all of our flyers. Again, it does not need to be in size 50 font. I usually go with like a size 10 so you can still read it. And then I do just like to put it right at the bottom. It shouldn't necessarily be the focus of your event. You're going to see I start to play around with the sizes of different things so that I make some space at the bottom. You're going to see I also group together some of the elements, move them up. You can see those little pink measurements that pop up. That just helps you make sure things are spaced out correctly throughout your document. So I always try to line them up. And then I'll just kind of fiddle around with this a little bit until I like the placement. You're going to see here, I kind of extend this because I want to take up, I want the lines to be a little bit more even. I center it, make sure everything looks okay, clean it up a bit. Something that we do try to avoid with text just in general is what's called, a hanging line. So if you just have, you're writing text for a flyer, you have kind of one word that's gone down to the next line. I always try to kind of bring that back. If you are making a flyer for a trip or an event with tickets, you want to make sure you have ticket price on there, and you want to make sure that you put the date that the tickets are on sale. All right, now that our flyer is done, you're going to go to Share, Download. You're going to want to make sure that the file type is a PDF. That is the only type that we will print. You're going to want to select Print from your presets, and you're going to want to select CMYK for printing. This is just all kind of the background settings that make sure it prints well within the resource room. Everything looks the way you have it on your screen. So it's going to download that. Once your document's downloaded, you're able to then upload that PDF right to the resource room request form, and then we will go ahead and make the copies of the flyers for you. A few more tools I do want to make you aware of. You are able, if you click Apps on the Canva toolbar, if you ever need to include a QR code for something, you are going to see that there's a really easy way to just kind of drag and drop, copy paste a URL to generate a code right in Canva, which is super helpful. I prefer to use the static QR code tool. It's simple, but there's a bunch of different ones if you want to do different colors, different shapes, all of that. The other tool I want to make you aware of is under Settings, and it's Rulers and Guides. This can be accessed both from the File menu or by hitting Shift and R. And it's really great. You can see I'm dragging these rulers in to find the center of my page, both vertically and horizontally. But if you have a lot of things that you're lining up, it's really helpful to make sure that things are spaced out correctly, that everything's attached to the same plane. So that's just another tool that I recommend. I use that a lot if I have a lot going on my flyer or whatever it is I'm putting together. Always remember to title your flyer so you can find it more easily later. That's going to help when you start to have a ton of stuff in your Canva account. Let's talk about resizing. So student orgs do have the option of resizing their flyers into large posters. The size for that is a 24 by 36. You're going to see that it's super easy to resize. You can just type it in. The file will get a new name. Most of the content transfers over pretty well. You just have to resize maybe a couple of the different elements and move a few things around. But transferring or resizing from a flyer to the sandwich board size poster, super easy. All the same information is going to be on there, and you just kind of play around to make sure it all looks okay. Something to know about our posters is they do use a lot of ink. So whenever possible, I would recommend using a white or light background. You can see I'm going to delete the background. Remember that I have some text in white. Go back and play with that. Honestly, this is not how I would ideally like it. I might make the background a lighter color or a pattern, but just so you know, we do want to try to conserve as much ink as we can. So especially, the black, the navy, all of that, we don't want to do that. Lastly, let's resize for social media. So again, a super easy thing to do. We'll go back to our original. We'll resize to an Instagram 4:5 ratio. And then from there, again, we just have to play around a little bit. For Instagram, you do not need as much of the details because obviously you have an Instagram post. So you can see I take the description off. I take the SAS statement off. I take the sponsorship off because they're following your page, so they know that it's going to be your group. And I take the Worcester State logo off as well. So really, we just want the focus of this, since we don't have a lot of space, to just be bingo night. So you're going to get the title of the event. You're going to get when it is, where it is, just the important stuff. Additional details are going to go ahead and go in the bio of this post. So move things around a little bit, make sure they fit, and then we're going to get ready to post it. You're going to download your Instagram as a PNG. You can go ahead and download it and then, send it to your phone, text it to somebody, whatever it is that you would like to do to make sure that that gets on Instagram. There are also a couple different social media options built straight into Canva. One of those is to just select Instagram. If your account is linked, you can go ahead, put your post right in here, tag people, put the collaborators on, all of that, and connect it to your account. You can also decide to post directly from your mobile, so it'll give you a QR code and it'll bring up the app for you. The other option is to send to phone. I think this one's super easy. You just get a QR code, you scan that with your phone, and you're going to get the image right to your phone, and then you can post directly from there. So that's our overview for creating flyers for your student organization, as well as resizing for posters and Instagram. If you have any questions, you can talk to your program coordinator, or you can visit the resource room and talk to our program assistants who would be happy to help. And if your club does not yet have a pro Canva account, just talk to your program coordinator and we'll make sure to get that all set.